Spiritual healing from the Parashat Beshalach. And so this is based on actually a long conversation, email conversation I had with one of the registered for my spiritual healing course. I wish she would be here now, but she isn't, but at least she will hear the recording. And she asked me, because we were learning last week about the three primal fears and the exiles that exiled Israel. And she asked me, what about mother syndrome? And this is what she said. She said, I have a question that may relate back to what we've been learning about the three exiles, the three primordial fears that are compared to Egypt is compared to the wolf, and Babylon is compared to the lion, and the current Edom Roman exile is compared to the serpent, which is respectively the fear of rape, the fear of losing control. That's the wolf, and the fear of death, that's the lion, and the fear of insanity, that's the serpent. So my question is that one of my students, I was speaking with a friend who observed something I also noticed, which is the tendency of some Jewish mothers to have difficulty letting go of their almost adult and their adult children. And this difficulty expresses itself in many different levels, including the inability to accept the adult children's decision and lifestyles, causing us mothers to become overcritical and questioning without focusing on the good positive points of our children. I'm really curious about how these three fears we were learning about might be affecting this pattern. Also, I'm looking for resources to respond. I'm looking in my own resources to respond in a way that is healing to the person and the system. Any thoughts? Okay, so before we even attempt to answer this thoughtful question, let's just briefly clarify. Okay, well, I already did that. Good. So just to go back shortly. The trauma of the Egyptian exile corresponds to the wolf, because rape can also be extended to emotional fear of rape, can also be extended to fear, like to the emotional and psychological violation, experiencing someone else invading our personal space, physically or psychologically. The syndrome of the fear of the wolf includes various power struggles, control issues, codependence. So that's the residue of the slavery in Egypt. The slavery experience elicited the fear of not being in control. There's also a link between the Egyptian exile and the Ze'ev, which is wolf in Hebrew. That Ze'ev has the gematria, the numerical value of 10, and there were 10 plagues in Egypt. Now, just to paraphrase, the trauma of the Babylonian exile, the fear of the lion is the fear of murder or the fear of death. The Babylon, they destroyed our temple, which is our lifeline. And in its wake, innumerable Jews were cruelly massacred. This fear can be extended to the general fear of death or the fear of the unknown. It can also be the fear of being consumed, being overwhelmed that there's not enough of us to handle everything in life. And this fear is also includes the residue from the trauma of all the countless nations that persecuted and murdered us. And the last one is the trauma of the Roman, the current exile, which corresponding to the serpent. And we know that no one sins unless we've been overtaken by temporary insanity, as it says in the Gemara Sota 3a. The primordial serpent tempted Chava to eat from the tree by confusing her mind regarding what exactly did Hashem command. And Amalek, the direct descendant of Esau and the ancestor of the Roman Empire, is the incarnation of the primordial snake. The gematria of Amalek is 240, which is also stafek, doubt, indecision, insecurity, confusion, paranoia. The venom of Amalek seeks to cause our soul to lose its mind. This syndrome is the root of all mental illnesses such as depression, bipolar, eating disorders, personality disorders, etc., etc. So how do we relate these three primal fears to the Jewish mother's syndrome that we all struggle with, whoever is a mother, to various degrees? It seems to me that somehow all the three primal fears are at play to various degrees in a Jewish mother's fear of letting go of their adult children. One, we'll start the other way around. We'll start with the wolf, Egyptian exile. It expresses itself primarily as a fear of losing control, which makes it difficult for us to let go of our adult children. We're gripped by this fear when we have no idea where our adult child may be and when he will return. When the child does return, maybe after midnight, our heart might be pounding and perhaps something happened to them, God forbid. Our fear of losing control over our adult children is the irrational fear. It's really an irrational fear because we have already lost control years ago. Therefore, the fear of losing control over our adult children is only causing ourselves unnecessary sleepless night. And therefore, it's time to learn to trust and overcome this fear. The fear of the lion, the fear of death, is expressed through the fear of what could happen to our children if we let go of taking care of them. We're afraid that without our care, they may not take properly care of themselves. The helicopter mother's fear is not only the fear and concern for the adult children's health, but also the fear for their lives, the fear that something terrible could happen to them if they do X, Y, or Z. Although this is a rational fear, and often our adult children won't make themselves the kind of nutritious food that we offer, and they may leave the house for hours during the cold winter night without a hat or a jacket. Even if their neglect of themselves may cause them to become sick, God forbid, nevertheless, we must work on allowing them to learn the hard way from their own experiences and mistakes, because we can't always take care of them. We can't do it forever. The fear of the serpent is the fear of not being able to understand and remain close with our children. We're afraid that our adult children will grow apart from us as they form their own outlook and way of life. Their possible rejection of our path may be painful, and we may feel lost and left out, even when they no longer admire us and accept our advice. Especially in our time, everything moves and changes so fast that it's hard for the older adult to keep pace with the new technology that our children are involved in. We may also be afraid that their new path may corrupt and impede their integrity and eternity. Looking back at the time when we ourselves were young adults, when we may have regarded our parents as backward and old-fashioned, but later we learned to respect and endear them, that may afford a bit of relief. When we accept the temporary distance as being only a phase in our young adult child's life, we can develop patience and acceptance of both our children, ourselves, and the situation. Letting go of fears and allowing our children to grow into independence. All of our fears concerning our adult children are damaging not only for ourselves, but also for them. Our adult children need freedom not always to share their inner thoughts with their mom. They need spontaneity, not to be compelled to tell their mom where they are at any given moment and when they plan to return. They also need the independence to learn how to take care of themselves. Since we cannot take care of our children for the rest of their lives, there must be a suitable, gradual cutting point that is right for them and not determined by our fear. Yet due to our worries, they feel torn. Our children feel torn and may even feel guilty when they cannot always act in ways that will assuage our fears and worries. Therefore, when we work on healing our primary fears and traumas, we're not only engendering personal healing, but moreover, we have the opportunity to heal our collective traumas by breaking the pattern of our collective fears affecting not only our children, but all generations to come. And then in the future, we will see we have a promise of redemption after we complete this work of healing these collective traumas. And it says in Yeshayahu 11:6-8, the wolf shall dwell with the lamb, the lion shall eat straw like the cow, a suckling shall play at the hole of a serpent, and a weaned child shall put his hands on a serpent's nest. And that's when our fears of these three and our traumas from these three exiles that these animals respectively represent have been completely melted away. Now, EmunaHealing exercise for letting go of our adult child and restore sanity. Find a private, comfortable place and pay attention to your breath. Inhale to the count of 7. Hold your breath for a count of 4. And exhale to a count of 8. Repeat this sequence 2 more times. Now, allow your breath to find its own pace. Keep breathing naturally and notice that you are entering a calmer space. Tune now into a situation where you feel lonely and left out by your adult child. Tap into your worries and self-doubts induced by the fear of the insanity of the primordial serpent. Place your hands on your forehead and visualize Hashem being with you in this situation, assuring you that He is with you in your loneliness. He's always with you at every moment and every situation. Breathe into the awesome light of Hashem's presence. Recognize that there is a power beyond our own limited way of viewing reality. In order to overcome mental distortion, we need to transcend our own limited self-image and preoccupation with self and develop awe of Hashem, bringing us beyond our personal problems. Examine your feelings and thoughts. What does it feel like when you feel detachment from your children? Do you feel hurt? What thoughts are you thinking at the time? Can you begin to think differently? Can you be with your adult children and love them without looking to them as your source of happiness? Can you learn to be alone without being lonely? Can you overcome your fear of the serpent by learning to love yourself enough that you become your own best companion? Now place your hands on your heart and breathe into the belief of a loving God, the source of all goodness. Allow yourself to strengthen the Emunah in your heart to overcome your fear of the lion, the fear of death, the fear of the unknown, and the fear of the unknowable. Tune into your inherent Emunah in Hashem. Breathe into the truth that there is nothing besides Him. He gives life to the entire world at every moment. Without Him, there is no life. Your adult children don't exist solely to fill the void of your unmet needs. Do you need the love and admiration of your children and grandchildren to be happy? Allow yourself to meet your own needs by loving yourself sufficiently to bring more peace and satisfaction. Can you let go of the need to be needed? Your desire to feel that your nurturing love produces an effect, a child who loves us back? Can you let go of the picture in your mind of your child and how she or he will fulfill your needs and desires? Keep breathing while placing your hands on your belly. Can you let go and let Hashem take over control? Strengthen your bitachon, trust in God, by realizing that ultimately no one else is totally in control of anything. Recite internally inside of your guts. Only Hashem leads, guides, supervises. Whatever I have is from Him. I'm ready to overcome the fear of the wolf by realizing that I cannot control my children. Whatever happens to them is from Hashem and from their and our ultimate good. We sometimes forget that when we can view our adult children with some detachment, when our reactions to them are no longer based on expectations of being dependent on them, we are then able to love them fully and freely. Breathe into the acceptance that your adult child is not here to complete you, giving you a fulfilled life or meeting your needs. Allow your fears of losing control, your fear of death and insanity to melt away as you begin to heal the collective traumas of our people and thereby learn to truly love. Okay, and when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Okay, so good.